Hi, folks, and Happy New Year. I have looked at the community post, and lo and behold, there were some votes for a movie matchup that I didn't see before. And it was between Wishmaster and My Bloody Valentine. And both were on Tubi. And I was able to see those over the holidays. And so I wanted to chat them up a little bit. The first one I'm going to talk about is Wishmaster. This one seemed to have lots of things going on. This was a 1997 film, I believe, and it has lots of horror people in the movie. It has Robert Englund from Nightmare on Elm Street series. Is he in all the movies? I think just the prequel, they changed it out, didn't they? So he's in the whole series that I've seen. It has Tony Todd, who plays in Candyman. I'm not sure whether to call that a franchise. I've seen two movies. I'm not sure if there's more. So let me know. But he's in that movie, and who else? Kane Hodder is also in the movie, and you'll know him from lots of different movies. He played Ed Gein in an Ed Gein movie. He played Hatchet in the Hatchet series. And plus, he's my favorite Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th movies. I think he starts in Friday the 13th 5 or 6. Even though he's my favorite, obviously, I don't know this. Good job, me. But anyway, this movie has quite a few people that you'll recognize. I enjoyed this movie well enough. What this movie's about is a lady who works with gems and the quality of gems and whatnot. And she comes across a big, what looks like a ruby. They just keep calling it an opal. I don't even know. And within this gem is contained a demon. And what the demon does is he grants wishes, but whatever you wish for, he's going to make it sinister. So, for instance, and this is not a spoiler, somebody asks to not see a thing anymore, that it's too terrible what he's seeing. He wishes he didn't see it, and that means that he becomes blind. It's kind of like that. After the person that releases him gets 3 wishes, apparently he opens a portal to hell and whatever. So that's basically the gist of it. I'm thinking if there's anything else that I need to tell you. No, that's the basics of it. And this movie is not good, but it's fun. It's not good. There's lots about the movie, especially now, where, there's some dramatics and whatever that's in the movie that we've kind of moved away from. We've kind of moved away from certain views and whatever. Those don't exist, or those do exist in the film. I don't know. There's lots of practical effects in the film. There's lots of stupid ways that people die in the film. There's just a whole bunch of funniness. And I'm a huge voice person. I really dig the voice of the Wishmaster. I really dig that. So I'm like, if nothing else, I'm just going to enjoy this movie for this person's voice. That's it. And it had Tony Todd in it too, which is I don't know if he's my ultimate voice. RIP to him. He's unfortunately gone, but I could have listened to Tony Todd all day. And this guy's up there too. So I definitely enjoyed those things. If I didn't mention this just now, that I really enjoyed the practical effects. I really enjoyed the parts that were body horror. I really enjoyed the gore of the film. It's not a really gory film by any means, but I think it's inventive. I think it's a little bit creative in what it does. There's a lot to not like about the film. I mean, the acting's kind of atrocious. The dialogue's kind of bad. How it all plays out is kind of bad. But it's one of those films that's kind of bad fun. I wouldn't say it's the most enjoyable movie for me, but it's kind of bad fun. You can kind of get a chuckle out of it. It's not meant to be serious. I don't think when they made the film that they thought they were making a serious film. It's kind of tongue in cheek. So I think that it's still enjoyable to some degree. But yes, it's not a good movie. There's some effects of like when the demon attacks somebody, the person that lets him out has like a vision of it happening, and just the way they played that out and whatever, I thought it was over the top. I didn't see it as funny. It could have been funny. Some people might think it's funny, but I was like, okay, this is over the top. This is kind of, not for me. But, that's what they did. And yeah, if I think about the movie, there's a lot to not like about the movie. Like there's a lot that's cringeworthy and was done badly. But I did enjoy it. Was it scary? I don't think it was really scary. You kind of know what you're gonna get. I mean, there's some parts at the very beginning where you're not quite sure what's going on, and always the unknown is scarier to me than the known. So I would say that was a little bit spooky, but the movie in totality is not spooky. I mean, if you've seen a few horror movies, you kinda know what's going on, you kinda know where it's going, you kinda know what you're expecting. Will I remember this movie? Maybe. I mean, this movie had some fun moments and some funny qualities to the movie that I could see myself remembering that part, and because there's so many people that I recognize from other franchises, I will probably remember certain things. Not everything. A lot of the movie is forgettable, for sure. I mean, there are better quality kind of evil genies, careful what you wish for type movies out there. I would say that I don't think, because of some of the creative factor that they have, I don't think that the movie's entirely forgettable, but I think that it's majorly forgettable. Could this movie be viewed at a party? I kinda think that it can, but it kinda has the caveat of other people kind of knowing what the movie is. I can kinda see people being either really inebriated at a party or in a party atmosphere and putting this on and laughing at it. I can kinda see that. As far as visuals go, it wouldn't be on in the background for the visuals. It would be more an interactive part of a party. It wouldn't be something that you put on to help build atmosphere, for instance. Who would I recommend this movie to? Now, it's lighter in horror and in gore. It does have some neat body horror type effects, but I would say that it's more for a beginner horror fan than for a seasoned fan. I mean, it's not gonna push any boundaries by any means. So, I even though I think somebody that's more seasoned could enjoy this movie, I don't see this movie as anything that's a kind of must see for a seasoned fan. I don't think it's a must see anyway. But if I was going to say that there was one group that I would recommend this to, I think this is a good gateway to horror movie. I mean, I don't remember a lot of swearing in it. It doesn't have lots it I don't think it has any nudity actually, now that I'm thinking of it. That's not a deal breaker for me, but for other people it might be. And it's kind of theatrical. It kind of has like the evildoer doesn't really look gross. He just looks like a character, really. I can kind of see that being a person's introduction. So the reviews on this were interesting. The critic views on Rotten Tomatoes gave it 25%. But the audience views on IMDb gave this movie a 5.8 out of 10, which is 58%, I think. I was told there would be no math. But anyway, so there's a big difference there. And the critics aren't wrong. It's not like when you look at the bits and pieces, it is not a good movie, but it is an enjoyable movie. And you will see that in the IMDb percentage or ratio or whatever you call it, fraction. And I think as much as I understand the critics thing, I don't agree. I think that it's the higher number. It's not a great movie, but it was fine. I didn't watch it and think, well, I want my time back. Let's move on to My Bloody Valentine. Now, I couldn't find the original of this movie. I thought that the original was on Tubi. I was in error about that. The one that was on Tubi was the 2009 3D edition. So I hadn't seen the original. I don't know what the original movie is like. I don't know the lore. So I don't know what I missed or did not miss. So this review will be of that movie because it's the only one that I can review. I don't recognize any of the characters in this film. What I understand as the summary of this film is that there was an event in a mine where this person, I don't know if there was a cave-in in this mine, but this guy goes crazy and he kills his fellow miners. And I don't know if there's a cannibalistic aspect to that. I can't remember. But 10 years later, it's thought that this guy who was thought to be killed 10 years ago has come back. And he's dressed in his miner outfit with his mask and his pickaxe and light and whatever. And that is how he kills people. And he takes out many of his victims. He takes out their heart and puts it in a heart box that's meant for chocolates. And he leaves it for whoever. And yeah, it's a slasher movie, so that's the basis of it. What did I? It's hard to say what I liked about the movie. I didn't really like the movie. I didn't. I don't think it was fun. The things I didn't like of the movie. Okay, so it was meant for a 3D viewing, which is not how I viewed it. So some of the 3D things were kind of annoying outside of the 3D realm. They were kind of very predictable and obvious and whatever. And a lot of 3D movies are like that. So I can't really discount this movie too much for doing what lots of other people were doing. I didn't like any of the characters really. I didn't really care about any of them. So I was like, okay, so you're either the bad guy or you're not. Like that's how I felt about it. And I'm like, okay, it could make sense for you to be the bad guy. It could also make sense for you not to be, and it's going to be whatever it's going to be. Obviously, it's more bloody than the other movie. Obviously, there's more gore to the movie. I didn't mind the way the gore looked. I didn't mind the recipe they had for blood, for instance. I didn't mind that at all. So I will say that I did like that. I will say that I thought the movie was spookier, and it could be the mask situation. It could be the whole environment of the mines, although I don't think that a lot of the movie is in mines, which I think would be awesome. I mean, one of my favorite horror movies, The Descent, is all in mines. And the great thing about that is the usage of black space and the availability for you to have spookiness and atmosphere and whatever just built in. But they didn't do that. So that was a missed opportunity in my view. But I like I said, I haven't seen the original. I don't know if there's a reason why a majority of it is outside of the mine. They didn't really discuss any of that. They did a really poor job, I think, saying why the slasher makes use of Valentine stuff. I didn't get that connection. It's hard for me in my brain to figure out, okay, mining and Valentine's Day chocolate. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know. But yeah, this was something I think they did poorly. I don't see this as a party movie. I don't see it being shown in the background of a party. I could see people at the end of a party watch this movie and whatever. I can see that because you don't have to really keep track of dialogue or whatever in the movie. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there is dialogue, obviously, in the movie, but very little of it matters. You're going to understand what's going on because it's a slasher. I mean, there's not a lot to it. You know that there are certain people, there's a bad guy, the bad guy's the same bad guy, and the deaths happen. I don't find a lot of the deaths really creative. I find them pretty commonplace. Like, if you have seen a pickaxe and you know what a pickaxe looks like, you can imagine the kinds of things that people die from in this film. That's it. I mean, not very imaginative there. For reviews, this movie it was actually reviewed better. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it was 62%. On IMDb, let me look at my notes, it's 5.4, so 54%. So that's closer. I would disagree. However, a lot of the reviews talked about how it is in relation to the original. I can't compare those two, so obviously I can't say anything about that. I don't see the movie being rememberable. I think I'm going to forget the movie. Even right now, I can't tell you a lot of the movie. I think I've already kind of started forgetting, and I wouldn't see this again. I could imagine that I would see Wishmaster again. Not because it's a good movie, but because I chuckled at it a little bit. But this movie, I wouldn't. I thought that it was kind of boring. I thought that it lacked creativity. And I think that it missed a lot of atmosphere and it had bad dialogue and everything. And as much as Wishmaster also had bad dialogue, I get the sense that My Bloody Valentine thought they were making a good movie, that they didn't know or think that they were making a crappy movie. And so they didn't lean into that. So that's kind of unfortunate. So between the two, what would I think won between the two? I think Wishmaster being more fun, I would recommend it to an actual audience. My Bloody Valentine, I wouldn't recommend to anybody. Yeah. I think Wishmaster would win. I don't think it's close at all. I think that, even though My Bloody Valentine seemed to have a more fleshed out story, I just think that the other one can be used in more environments is something that I would recommend more, is something I found more fun, is something that would just win between the 2. So so today I'll put a new poll up of movies that I have, seen listed on Tubi and Shudder. So do vote and let me know, what movies do you want me to watch and review and talk about a little bit. So with that, I hope you're doing the best with the situation that you find yourself in today. Happy New Year again, and I will talk to you later.